The Chair recognizes the Vice Chairman of the Subcommittee, Jeff Fortenberry.
Thank you, Chairman Smith, for convening this very important hearing, and I think it is important to note that it is especially poignant that today is International Women's Day, as we hold the hearing for the more than 200,000 women in the Democratic Republic of the Congo who have been heinously victimized in recent years. Last year alone, nearly 15,000 new cases of sexual violence were reported in the country, thousands of which involved children. And those numbers don't reflect the many women who must remain silent, but this hearing today breaks that silence. The intense human tragedy in the Democratic Republic of the Congo continues to weigh heavily upon all of us. While numerous signs of democratic progress have been seen in recent years, civil strife has reached an unfathomable high in some areas, particularly in the eastern part of the country. The social emergency is seen quite clearly in a recent study that revealed rape has increased 17-fold within the country. In the last Congress, we made two significant strides toward mitigating two sources of the conflict by passing the Lord's Resistance Army Disarmament and Northern Uganda Recovery Act of 2009, as well as the conflict minerals provisions in another law. We also directed millions of dollars in humanitarian assistance to the victims of sexual and gender-based violence, but aid can hardly keep pace with the staggering numbers of new rape victims each year. Sexual violence in the Democratic Republic of the Congo is the worst in the world in both its pernicious scope and unrelenting brutality. The scourge of rape is especially prevalent in the Kivu provinces, where we saw last year a particularly monstrous series of systematic rapes by rebel fighters. As we later learned, these vicious attacks were committed less than 20 miles from a UN peacekeeping base, which only learned of the months-long attack after a week after their end. Since that inexcusable lapse, the UN, with the Congolese government and other non-governmental organizations, successfully brought to trial and convicted 9 FARDC soldiers, including their commanding officers, for crimes of mass rape last month. I join with the United States government in commending this conviction. The rule of law did prevail. But there are many, many more perpetrators who not only elude justice, but flout the most basic notions of humanity through their brutal acts of extreme violence toward the daughters of the Congo. But our human rights concerns lie not only with the scourge of gender and sexual-based violence in the DRC, child conscription by rebel forces, but purportedly by the Congolese military itself, continues. UNICEF released a new report this past Friday warning that despite the reintegration of as many as 5,000 former child soldiers in the DRC, forcible child recruitment is an ongoing problem. As we give attention to the victimized women and girls of the DRC, we must also give special consideration to the plight of girl soldiers, who are often victims of grotesque sexual slavery and violence as well. These girls, stripped of innocence and dignity, face heartbreaking stigma and challenges as they seek to reintegrate into their families and their community. So today, Mr. Chairman, I do look forward to hearing the U.S. State Department and USAID's efforts to help bring peace to this tragedy-worn country, as well as the unique on-the-ground perspectives from the Eastern Congo Initiative, Catholic Relief Services, and the Enough Project. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you for your important work, and I look forward to our hearing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again for coming, and thank you for your testimony. The United States is constantly called upon to clean up messes throughout the world. And now that's a testament to the generosity of the American people, as well as to the philosophical ideals that guide us, and perhaps as well our unique position as an exceptional world power. But with that said, what is the relative nature of our assistance compared to European assistance, particularly France and Belgium, given the colonial legacy here?
In terms of the United States, we are still the largest donor in terms of our support in bilateral assistance, but our support through the peacekeeping agencies, in terms of our support through the UN service agencies like UNICEF, And we continue to lead on this. It depends also on certain sectors where our European partners have taken the lead in terms of the security sector, where the EU is in the lead. But in other areas, we continue to be, in other sectors, we continue to lead in regards to this.
Do you feel this is disproportionate in terms of the responsibility?
I think we're working with our partners to continuously find ways, because we partner with them on a number of other countries that are a priority for the U.S. government. So it's a balancing act between, Congo, Sudan, Liberia. So we're in constant discussions with our British partners, our Norwegians partners, the EU, the World Bank, both on the bilateral to see where we bring our relative expertise, we lead, where they bring their relative expertise and political will. So it's a constant negotiations between us and our partners.
All right. The second question, and perhaps Mr. Ambassador, you could answer this. It is against the law in the United States to provide military assistance to countries who use child soldiers. Now, we have exceptions for that in terms of national security waivers, and this country has received one. But with that said, that doesn't absolve our responsibility from continuing to push at the highest possible diplomatic levels to end this pernicious practice. What specifically is being done in this regard?
We have overall on the child soldiers, it's not just in the Congo, but it's throughout the continent and, of course, around the world, as we establish on our GTIP rankings and to work with these countries to address those problems and to ensure that, A, they understand those problems, and number two, that they address them, and number three, that we work together to find a solution. And throughout Africa and other parts of Africa, from Chad and to other countries where there is reports of child soldiers, we have worked with those troops that we've helped, let's say, train to not only on Lehi vetting, but to ensure that they observe all the precepts and legal aspects that we have under our laws in distribution of funding and assistance. In the Congo area, it remains a challenge. But we remain committed to ensuring and to working hard so that the battalions that we train and also those that we work with are meeting the legal notes established by you and the Congress on the distribution of the assistance.
That perhaps is certainly an appropriate response for those areas that are under our direct influence, such as military assistance, direct military assistance and training. But in terms of a robust diplomatic push at the highest levels, what are we doing?
What we're trying to do right now is we're working with the FARDC troops, which is a major challenge, to work on military justice and also to ensure that they develop the justice systems to bring to justice those individuals who are in violation, not only those who have violated the law in participation in rape and human rights abuse, but also those who have conscripted and trained child soldiers. And that becomes an accountability issue under the judicial and legal system that we're trying to develop within the DRC. And that's something our USAID colleague is working on. And for our part is working with to ensure the professionalization of the military as well as the police to follow up and to work with the communities and sectors so that these abuses do not occur. But again, it's going to be a long-term process, but we are making those efforts.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
Thank you.